What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Overreaction Monday, Week 1. This is it's the NFL season. The NFL season kicked off. Jeff is sipping on some beer. He has to be absolutely happy because his Miami Dolphins start 1-0. Tua look damn good, and maybe we'll talk about them in the biggest winner. Maybe we won't. But at the end of the day, I am hosting Overreaction Monday, Week 1. Shout out to Cruz. He's busy, so I told him I'll step in for him. But I got Jeff in the building, and it's football season, so you know me and Jeff were going to do a show. And what better than to be in Overreaction Monday, Week 1? Jeff, what's going on, bro?
Oh, not much, man. I feel bad for all the viewers and listeners that just missed like 20 minutes of
Our
awesome
pre-show.
Awesome. The college football pre-show was fantastic. I'm hyped. I've already reduced myself to being like I got to watch the entire college football season because the Ohio State Buckeyes are an absolute dumpster fire. So sometimes that takes some of the pressure off of you. It takes some of the pressure off of you. I can just enjoy it. I thought it was a fun NFL weekend. There's so many storylines. One of the biggest, as we're recording this, it's just before the Jets game, so we're not going to talk. That'll be next.
Yeah, we don't know what that turns out to be, but
yeah, I'll assume that like Aaron Rodgers is going to say some really cool stuff. Here's what we know: we're not as smart as Aaron Rodgers, so we probably don't deserve to talk about the Jets. Just ask him; he'll tell you exactly how smart he is. Yeah, Aaron Rodgers is going to outsmart everybody tonight. Let's just leave it at that. That's my big prediction.
So let me ask you this. Okay, let's just get into it. It's just you and me right now. Okay. The Dolphins are 1-0.
A great 1-0.
Tua started off looking like, oh my God. He fumbled 2 snaps on the first 2 drives. And I was a guy who falls victim to like, bro, what is Tua doing? He can't catch the snap. They pointed it out in the game. If you did watch the game, they pointed it out that was a point of emphasis going into the season was like the center and the quarterback, we're trying to see where they're at. How do you feel about the Dolphins not just winning a game? They put on an elite performance.
Yeah.
Tyreek Hill was easily the best wide receiver in football.
Tyreek Hill was the best player in football yesterday, hands down.
I'm not sure it's close. And even
there's 2, we'll talk about another one later that you might want to talk about.
But it's Tyreek Hill looked absolutely amazing. He looks like a man on a mission, which is kind of crazy because he's playing like he has a point to prove. But like Tyreek Hill, you're one of the 3 best wide receivers, no conversation in football, and you're playing like you have a point to prove. Jeff, how was it watching the Dolphins yesterday?
It was awesome, man, because here's the thing. Coming into that game, like that game mattered a lot because we know the Chargers and Dolphins are both fighting for absolutely expect to go to the playoffs. They both got great quarterbacks. They have, so like these are 2, like this game's going to matter. Week 17, when it's all over, this game will matter. The winner was in much better position than the loser. I mean, this was a huge Week 1 game, and for not only for the Dolphins to get the victory, the Chargers played okay. Like the Chargers played Chargers football, which is pretty good. They're still a really good team. Herbert's really good. And for Tua to out-battle them. And another thing was like the throws that Tua was making. Like, oh my God. I understand, like everybody, you can say what you want. Like, oh, I got Tyreek Hill. It's easy to throw to him. Look at the game-winning touchdown pass. Like he's not like he got open. He's technically open, but it's not like he was wide open and Tua just had to hand it to him. Like that was a fantastic pass. Like Tua made 4 or 5 like all pro passes. And that's what I wanted to see. Like I know everybody, like all I talked about all summer, every show I was on was like, can't Tua stay healthy? Can't Tua stay healthy? Like all these quarterbacks get hurt. Like nobody cares that Joe Burrow missed, part of a season with an injury.
Nobody cares. Joe Burrow sucked yesterday, but
yeah, nobody cares about any of this. But when it's Tua, and I understand what they're saying, but what I'm saying is like that's every quarterback. So if we're going to go into the season being like, if he stays healthy, like, well, obviously, if your starting quarterback stays healthy, you're going to have a better chance than if they don't. Tua looked great. It was exciting. It was fun, and I needed that because after 2 weeks of watching the Buckeyes, like I literally thought about quit watching football, and to watch the Miami game, and I was about to be negative and like screw it. And I was like, you know what? I like this. This is going to be good. I enjoyed the game. I enjoyed the victory. So it was awesome, man. I freaking love it. The Dolphins are good. I mean, their defense is going to get better. They've got an athletic defense. They're going to get, but the offense isn't always going to look like this, especially when the snow starts flying. But running backs looked healthy. That'll come around. I think McDaniel did what he needed to do yesterday, and the most importantly, they got the victory. Like that's all the NFL is about, is victories. Like zero anything else matters. No style points, no nothing. This is not college football. You got a victory over a playoff team. The Chargers are probably going to be in the playoffs or fighting for the playoffs. And you're in good shape. And New England lost. Another AFC East team is going to lose tonight. So at worst, you're 1-0, and there's going to be two teams, 0-1 in the AFC East. That's it was awesome, man. I had a great time.
Best team. Like at worst, you're going to be the second best team in the AFC East.
Waddle
next week.
Waddle and Hill are amazing. Like they are ridiculous. Like I don't know like what a defense does. I don't say to stop them because I know they won't go undefeated, but I really don't know what you do as far as like when those guys are crossing the field. My goodness, if the offensive line can just hold up and they can get through these shitty weather games, like that's going to happen. And they've got a tough schedule. They got the NFC East, so they're going to get some nasty ones. But if they can win these ones, they're going to be fine. They can lose the 4 crappy games and then the other throws. But I came away pleased, and they did what they had to do. And Chargers are still a good team.
I think the Dolphins looked absolutely amazing. I feel like if you walk away from week 1, you have to be happy to be a Dolphins fan because you walk away 1-0 against a team that you could face in the playoffs.
Yep.
Depending on if things shake and you know how you pan out. Ken, you have joined the show now. We're not going to make this a Cowboy show, and we might not focus too much on the Cowboys because there's not too much to focus on.
Ooh.
But Ken is in the building. He is a Cowboys fan coming off of joining ORM while beating the piss out the Giants. Ken, what's going on, bro?
Yeah, I don't really need to talk about the Cowboys or the Giants because, like, we're just beating a dead horse at this point. Like, it was 40-0. It was a complete and total ass whooping. It sometimes just happens in the NFL. You get knocked in the mouth right off the bat, and then you just
doesn't happen that often, though. It's
a couple times a year, though.
There you go. I was gonna say that was a rare beat.
I don't know. I'd compare that kind of to San Fran yesterday, where they just got out to that hot start. They create a turnover. Like they were up so quick that the game was over before we were really even worried about Pittsburgh anymore. So I don't know. It's a good win. Like you obviously know the record of Dak against the Giants, and he just did that once again. And Dallas defense looked really good. McCarthy looked comfortable calling plays. Like it's a good win, but I mean it's 1 week of 17 to go. So
yeah,
it's a great.
No, I totally agree. Like it's still just
don't go out next week and then you stink it up, and then you're like, oh, okay, so is Dallas actually any good? Like, go get another win next week. Like,
I think they're pretty good. First of all, like I got a couple questions for you guys. We don't even have to talk about Parsons anymore. Like Parsons is like Hall of Fame.
Yes, we do, Jeff, because you're trying to throw
that
out.
I gotta bring Parsons up every time to Mo, but like we can all agree that he's fantastic. So
he pisses me off.
Absolute game.
He ruins the other team's offense. He absolutely ruins it.
He absolutely pisses me off, and he pissed me off last night because Nick Bosa got paid what he got paid, and then Micah Parsons comes out like that, and I'm like, oh my God, we're gonna have to pay this dude $50 billion a year.
Well, he's gonna be the highest paid. And that's fine, but it's fine. It all works out. But he earns it. Like he's a game breaker.
Oh, 100%. It's just seeing that Nick Bosa got paid what he got paid, and then Michael Parsons playing the way he played. You're like, you already knew you were gonna have to back the Brinks truck up, but now you're like, oh my God.
I think the thing with him is he just makes everyone else look better.
Yeah,
that's what it is. He was beating people on double teams to get sacks, but at the same time, Daniel Jones was seeing ghosts all night, and because he doesn't know where it's coming from. He's so busy looking for Parsons all over the field that suddenly Lawrence is there and suddenly someone else is there. Like
I tweeted this out last night, but I'll say it on the show just so I get it out there again. Parsons is every good as good as LT was back in the day, but Parsons cannot like try to decapitate a quarterback, so it just looks different. But like Parsons is that good of a player right now as far as like runs the game. But what I want to ask you guys, outside of Parsons, Dak looked really good, but we see that a lot. What was the one thing that jumped out to you? Were like, this is, as Cowboys fans, like this is the one thing I was looking for, and it happened, and now I feel better about the season. There has to be a player or something out. Maybe McCarthy's play calling. I was actually kind of impressed with that. But overall, what was the one thing you were looking for that you were positive about?
So before King goes, I would say this. We expected the Cowboys defense to be a top 5 defense in the league. I think we just watched the best defense in football, and I'm not sure it's close. Like, that's kind of where I'm at, where I'm like, okay, and that's where I put all pressure on Dak. Like, what I learned last night is the Cowboys defense is arguably the best, not even arguably. They're the best defense in football, and now, Dak, you got to go earn your contract. Because what you do have, you have a Super Bowl defense. Can you do it on the offensive side? And I think that's where we're looking at Dak, and I think all focus is going to be on Dak all year. That's what I walked away from, was like, we got a Super Bowl. We have a defense who can win the Super Bowl. I'm not saying we win it, because I also think, like, when you turn over on the offensive side of the ball and we step out on the field, like, all pressure is on Dak to make sure that you meet your defense in the middle and just be good to really good and be able to take this defense where they can go. Because I think historically this is going to be one of the best defenses we've ever seen. Non-biased.
I don't know if I learned anything that I was looking for last night, because you see Schultz leave. We obviously lose Zeke. You bring in Brandon Cooks, who only has like 2 catches for 20 yards, but like the game was never in doubt. So I guess I didn't really learn anything, because I wanted to see how dynamic the Cowboys offense could be, but the game was already out of doubt. So it's like, I don't think that I learned that. I think I'm going to learn that next week, though, when they play the Jets, because you're going to go up against a very talented defense. Let's see what it looks like with Gallup, Cooks, and Lamb when you're rolling all of them out. And Ferguson's stepping up, obviously, with Schultz leaving. He had a quiet night, but again, game's already over, so you're not really worried about it. And I don't know. I don't think that I learned what I was looking for last night, because I didn't have doubts about the defense. I thought McCarthy would be fine. I thought Dak would be fine, but I just wanted to see how good that offense can look. And
they didn't really have to open it up.
They didn't have to do anything. And it was like, I feel like watching Dallas, you're picking apart. Oh, the offense looked good because Kellen Moore doesn't call this play at this certain point in time, but you're like, the game was never in question. So what are we really looking for?
Pollard, Vaughn didn't really do a lot, but he didn't have to again. So I just, when you're having that game where maybe you're not up 3 scores like early, what's that going to look like? So
I'd say something to take away is they were ready to play an away game versus a playoff team from last year. Like, that's a big deal. Like, being ready to play.
And a divisional opponent on top of that.
Yeah.
Like, not only was it a playoff team, but this is a divisional opponent. So, since we're bringing in, the guy who is a fan of a team who went scoreless and lost 40-0 and
had access to the Off the Ball Network Twitter account and put out that he felt really good about Giants plus 3.5 last night.
Yeah, and the guy who's, I mean, if you're in the city of New York, you can't feel like you're up and up, because at this point you're hoping the Jets beat the Bills so that New York actually looks like a good city worth visiting.
Well, technically Buffalo is the only New York team.
Well, yeah, but that's what do y'all call it? That's upstate. Y'all don't even consider it New York. That's upstate.
It's not even upstate. It's over. It's almost Canada.
That's Canada Light. That's Canada Light.
Like
Yes.
somebody saying I'm from Buffalo, like a New York person would be like, well, you're not from New York. Like, yeah, well, either way, Chris is in the building. It's just one game. Remains his
It
name.
is just one game. That's
Yay,
true, though.
It is. And his name is 100% for sure, but I'm gonna
But
be
yeah,
honest.
you know what? I want to
$40
right before
Jeff.
Chris gets
Tell
going.
him,
I just
Jeff.
want to I want to put out there real quick. I said this last year. Can we stop putting the NFC East on Sunday night every time? Because that wasn't fun for most of the country.
It wasn't even fun for Cowboys fans. I was pissed off I had to watch that. You telling me I waited all day for us to win 40-0? Like I was
waiting all day.
Bro, I wasted the whole day to sit there and fall asleep to us winning 40-0. I was just as pissed as any non-Cowboys team.
But your team won though by 40
I watched
points.
Ted Lasso for the fourth quarter.
I went to bed at halftime.
I didn't watch the fourth, but at that point I felt bad for my wife because I'm like, why am I making you watch this? So I get what Jeff is saying. The rest of the country is probably like, what?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Chris, because that was terrible.
First of all, I hope all you gentlemen had a wonderful Monday.
I had a wonderful Monday.
I hope you all had a wonderful and brilliant Monday. But yeah, about the game last night, that was fun.
No, nobody in America thought the game was fun.
You know what's crazy? Opening drive, we're moving, right? Okay, I like this. We're getting somewhere, and then things start going left, and then obviously things just start going real left, and the block kick, and it just from there on, it just felt like, this is going to be bad. And that's exactly what and then when Saquon, was it technically an interception or was it a fumble for a touchdown? I don't know what they ruled that one, but whatever it was, it was a pick six, right? All right, it was a pick six technically. I was like, oh, this is bad. And then just the way they were unprepared, I'm not a coach blamer. You guys know I don't really blame coaches like that, but this is the first time it's only been a year and one season and one game, but where I was like, he did not have his team prepared. He did not have him prepared. That looked like he was out coached by a coach that we've talked about that people say is not a good coach in McCarthy. Mike McCarthy ran circles around Daboll. It was probably Mike McCarthy's best coach game. Not just as a Cowboys coach, but just as a coach, period. Like, he ran circles around this Giants team. Like, he had – and listen, the Cowboys weren't doing crazy stunts and blitzes and all that. Like, they were just rushing 3-4 guys, and they were – like, Evan Neal was horrific. He was ranked the second worst tackle this week. The second worst. There's 64 tackles that play, right? And every week, right? We got 30 – everyone gets 2 tackles, right? He was ranked the second worst. Our guards, the guards, Neal's been in, but the guards got abused. They were ranked dead last, and I think they were ranked after like backups. It was abysmal up front. 7 sacks, and then Daniel. I know, and I listened to talk radio, and I was reluctant to listen, but I was like, you know what? I was at work. I was like, I'm in the truck. Let me see what's going on. There's people blaming Daniel Jones. Now, listen, he makes the bad throws, yes, but when you're literally getting pressured every single play, what do you expect from the man? It was one of the worst performances I've ever seen. And listen, this team has been bad for 10 years, so I've seen a lot of bad performances. This has to be a top 5 because I was talking a lot of smack. Mo knows it, Ken knows it, and not because I wanted to. I felt confident, Jeff. I thought this was legit. We were going to be a division contender, a legit playoff threat, like deep playoff, like NFC Championship type team. I wasn't just doing that just to do. I felt good about this team, and yes, it's just one game. We lost. If we would have lost 30-27 on the last second field goal, it sucks. Like, all right, at least it was a hard fought game. The offense nothing looked good. Special teams disaster. Our kicker's hurt. Greg Godot's hurt. So we lost our kicker. Our left tackle's hurt. He has a bad hammy. So the offensive line's already a disaster. We may have lost our kicker, our left tackle. You know, who knows where Daniel Jones' state of mind is right now. Saquon didn't look like Saquon. You know, we had 2 rookie corners that they look like rookies. And it was just unfortunate. It was just a bad game all around. And the coaching was abysmal. The coaching deserves a lot of the blame too, because they didn't have this team prepared.
And
they weren't prepared at all. Sad.
And let's remember the last game he coached, they got their asses whooped too. So that's actually 2 in a row.
And
that's a real thing.
Honestly, you should be thanking the scheduling gods that they gave you Arizona next week. Because
I don't know,
Arizona,
dog.
But Arizona.
No. The reason why I say that is
49ers after that. Though.
You're coming off like back to back. We're talking back to back horrendous performances by the Giants. And this is a spot where it's like, okay, right the ship, because even if you don't have your very best, like, go get a win. Like put a win up so you can say, all right, you know what? We didn't have our best, but we're 500 through 2 weeks. Now let's get the season.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
because you wouldn't want to see Eagles on the schedule or something where you're like, holy shit, we just lost 40 to nothing, and now we have to go play an absolute powerhouse. Like, go beat the worst team in football next week. Because if you don't, then like, I don't know what we do with Chris.
I don't think Arizona's the worst team in football.
Have him on Overreaction Monday because that's straight up bullying.
I definitely, the way you just said it, yeah, that makes sense. Just get the win at any cost, even if it's a field goal. Just get the win, because you're going to go to San Francisco week 3. You're not winning that. The way they listen, San Francisco maybe they look like they made the Pittsburgh Steelers look like a D2 team. Like, they just absolutely annihilated them and all that. Brock Purdy looked good.
Steelers to go to the playoffs, which pisses me off.
I picked them too. I thought the Steelers are going to win the division.
Why?
I bought the hype. I bought the hype.
He's a Tomlin.
I bought the hype that Mike Tomlin goes over 500 every year. So
but over like 9-8 is not getting you to the playoffs in the AFC.
My thing was, I'm like, if I think Mike Tomlin could go over 500 every year, which he's done, you're talking about 9-8. I feel like they improved one
Tomlin's
or two
almost
7, 11-6.
But Tomlin also had a Hall of Fame quarterback almost every one of those years. Like, that's
I
gotta.
I bought the Kool-Aid, Jeff.
I bought
the Kool-Aid, Jeff. Like, that's what it is.
TJ Watt hurt a lot of last year. Trubisky for the first half of the year.
TJ Watt's a monster.
Heading into, and guess what? He was a monster yesterday.
He is a monster.
He had 3 sacks yesterday.
He is a game wrecker. He's the only take him off that.
He's breaking a sack record this year.
He's the only reason they win. He's the only reason they win.
Yeah.
He had the only 3 sacks of the game.
Man, he is a monster.
Like, we're talking about TJ Watt had.
We talk about this is another one of these things. Like, we all been together long enough, and I've been saying this for however many years now. Can we stop talking about the left tackle being the most important position in football when the best pass rushers come off the right side right now?
Micah was killing Evan Neal on the right side.
They all come off the right side right now. And I know it, like, I'm like, it is like it's just tackle.
The best
guard. Like, you have to be a guard. You have to be
are getting paid.
Yeah, but I tell you what, if you got a bad guard, those dudes just knife and come right by your guard too. Like this whole left tackle thing is dead. Like, it's no longer just like these guys line up all over the field. Watt's just a mismatch.
So the Cowboys have been doing that for all year. But the Cowboys, what bothered me with the
Dan Quinn might be the best coach in football. I'm being serious.
Micah Parsons has been doing this to the Giants for like every game he's played, and yet they still haven't figured out, like, hey, he's going to line up on the right tackle. Maybe we should do something about that. And it's been every game. I'm like, maybe they may. I'm like, all right, they're finally going to make the adjustments. And no, Evan Neal get killed every single play with Micah Parsons. Yeah. He's not going against Andrew Thomas. He's going to go against Evan Neal. They're going to capitalize it, and the Giants did nothing about that. That's what hurt my soul. That's why it's all in coaching. Like, you didn't, like, him and Kafka, like Dabo and Kafka, like, you did not figure it out. Like, Michael Parsons has been killing us for 3 years. Like, and you did nothing to try to protect Evan Neal, who struggled all last year as a rookie?
Do you think maybe they're just a big fan of Up in Flames and they also doubted Micah Parsons? Do you think do we think that's what the problem is?
Can we clip that? We need to clip that. We have to go back in the archives.
Yeah.
But Mo, I get. You know why I get? Because Micah Parsons wasn't playing the way he's playing now, like the way he's as an edge rusher. We thought he was going to be used as a linebacker, like a traditional linebacker.
Oh,
And
I didn't.
No, and Jeff,
I didn't. I
Jeff,
said he was the best player in the draft that night.
listen,
But
Jeff.
I remember Mo thinking like they're going to use him as
We
a
need a
linebacker.
corner.
Yeah.
And we needed a corner. Like, so where Jeff gets to beat his chest, rightfully so, is because Jeff said, look, bro, why are you mad? Y'all just got the best player in the draft.
It's
and
one of the best picks in NFL
we need
history.
a damn corner. And when Patrick Surtain got taken, and JC Horn got taken, our hopes of being good was screwed. That was my thought process. The two guys that I said help us right now.
It's all good.
But
we should probably talk about this week in the NFL.
Oh, yeah. So now let's talk about the biggest loser. And for everybody's sake, the Giants are off the table.
No, that's not the Giants. The Giants lost one game. It doesn't matter how many points.
Nobody else.
I have another team.
Nobody else gets to say the Giants were the biggest loser. We kind of focus on that game because that was the most recent one in memory as far as the Cowboys and the Giants. So we're going to leave that game alone. So, Ken, I want to start with you. Who was your biggest loser week 1?
The Denver Broncos.
Oh,
really?
Good job, Ken.
You really think so?
You are talking what's supposed to be, you know what? Last year, that's on Hackett. That's all Hackett's fault. That's why they were so bad. Vegas set the win total at the same number that they had Denver the prior year, and you go out in the opener at home and lose to the Vegas Raiders, who's supposed to be the worst team in the division. I think you're a massive loser for that. This is the divisional game that you had to have if you were realistically going to have a shot at the playoffs. And you don't get that win. You're telling me that they're going to go win it in Kansas City or they're going to go beat the Chargers? I just don't see it. That offense still looks very clunky. Run game was very bad yesterday. How are they not a big loser? Like, that's the game that you have to have. That's the type of game that you look back on at the end of the year when you're 8-9 or 9-8 and you just missed the playoffs and you go, that's where we lost it. I think that's the reality of the situation. You have to win. If you're going to split with Vegas, that's fine. But now you have to go and beat them in their building.
But you also looked bad doing it.
Yeah, it wasn't pretty. You put up 6 points at home on what's supposed to be a bad team. Like, the Raiders are supposed to be a bottom 8 team in the league this year. And you lose that game to Jimmy G, I think you have to be a big loser in that case.
Yeah.
I can't disagree with you. So, Jeff, who is your biggest loser since clearly Clinton took yours?
No, Denver was number 1. Real quick, a quick team would be the Vikings for obvious reasons. Basically the same thing we just said. But I'll pick a player. How about Ryan Tannehill? He was dreadful yesterday. We're talking about a guy who he's at the point in his career to where, like, if it's over now, it's over. And I know he got his check and he's had some great playoff runs, but like, if it's over now, it's kind of over. And it's
over.
He's got, and it looks over. He's got a really, like, Tennessee's a solid team, and Tannehill just like couldn't get anything done, missing wide open throws. He was an average quarterback wins that game. And and that's what we talk about, a competitive AFC, like, just like Ken said, like, that's a game that you're like, wow, that cost us. I don't see how he is the starting quarterback a month from now, let alone 2 weeks from now. But just a dreadful game. But it wasn't like, it didn't look like a mental bad game. It looked like a physical bad game. Like, he just doesn't
over the hill.
Like, and from where he started, the whole story from where he's at, great story. I wish we would have kept him in Miami, blah, blah, blah. But man, it sure looks like the beginning of the end for Ryan Tannehill. So I think that was a tough one.
So Chris, It's hard to really disagree with Jeff but Jeff hit on a player, and typically we don't. He murdered Ryan Tannehill, which is also a former quarterback of his. But Chris, who is your biggest loser?
The Seattle Seahawks. I didn't buy into them this year, but you would think going against the Rams team who's missing some guys. Obviously, Kupp is gone, is out, and they've drafted really well, Seattle, throughout the last years, and you think Geno Smith's going to take that step, and then you realize that this is still Geno Smith of the previous 10 seasons.
Oh, man.
Oh my God! Oh
man.
my God!
Like,
Mister,
the fact that people thought that, like, oh, Geno Smith is a career revelation and all that. After one season, he got the bag too, and he showed why.
Yeah, that's a win. I think what Geno Smith did, like, it's just a win. No matter what he does,
he wins in life. He wins in life because he got the bag, he got a contract and all that. But for people to be like they think that Seattle is going to
he's figured it out
good. Like, he threw for what, a buck and change against a defense that's clearly lost a lot of guys. Ramsey's not there, like, depleted and all that, and they lost 30 to 13. They got destroyed by the team that a lot of us, some people may think might be the worst team in football, or maybe a bottom five, and Stafford's still slinging it, and it was just an embarrassment at home. Like, it was almost not as bad as the Giants, but like they didn't show up either. Like, it was I
want to pile embarrassment. And I'm sad that Cruz isn't here to hear this because I've been waiting all day to say it. Can we talk about DK Metcalf? Like, no longer cares about playing football.
So you're not going to be the greatest receiver?
No, I don't think he's going to be the greatest receiver of all time, which Cruz put in effect about 2 years ago tonight.
That was the biggest bullshit ever said.
But the dude,
we all agreed.
The dude played like a clown yesterday. Like, it's clearly. Like, it clearly ain't gonna happen. I was hoping Cruz would be on tonight so I could ask him, like, how do you feel about DK's half-ass performance yesterday?
Yeah, because that was the biggest bullshit.
Seattle, that's a good choice. I'm so happy. I haven't seen Jelani Brown in, like, I swear it's been 18 months. I'm so freaking happy right now.
I'm glad that Jeff segued into. Shout out to Jelani for jumping on Overreaction Monday. So Jelani,
by the way, whatever he says is gonna be way smarter than anything the rest of us do. Like, it's just the way it's gonna go.
Hey,
he's gonna be like, actually, my biggest loser is the Commanders special teams coordinator, and he's gonna have some great reason. I'm gonna be like, oh, I feel dumber now. That's what's gonna happen right now. I'm calling his shot.
Now that we said it, Jelani, we did. Hey, we're talking about biggest loser, and we also said that nobody is allowed to say the Giants.
Of course.
Because we spent enough time
we grilled them.
Cowboys and Giants, so they're gone.
It's not like 30
Jelani,
minutes.
who's your biggest loser?
Honestly, I'm kind of mad that I had to side with Prez. I was hoping I got that on before he did say it. Like, I hate when I have to agree with Prez because Seattle was my biggest loser as well. I think we did, me and Thad did a show maybe a few weeks ago, and Thad was really high on Seattle, and I said they're going to come back down to earth very quickly. Like, I didn't buy into them this year either. And pretty much for all the reasons Prez just said. Now on the opposite side of that, like I said, the Rams actually looked decent. Like I said, we all thought they lost too many players, and they came to play yesterday. Like you said, it was kind of a smashing. But
he showed up. That rookie for the Rams,
exactly, and that's what I'm about to say.
Atwell played like a world beater.
Wait, 11 catches, 119, something like that, something around.
Bro,
there,
he played absolutely amazing.
And Stafford might be healthy.
Yep. So, like, a lot of answered a lot of questions. Like I said, we all had him probably as a bottom five. So even our rankings, I forgot where we had him as a network, but it surely wasn't in the top 20, 25. So that was definitely one. But everyone kind of hit on the rest of them for me as well. Overall, when it's not really a biggest loser, but I kind of want to go back to what Mo said yesterday. I think he was like hot take, but college football is a lot better than NFL. And
easily.
I kind of seen it yesterday. I was like, yes, I don't know why. The games were just.
It wasn't good. It wasn't a good day.
It's week one, and we always gotta keep that in mind. But I just it didn't feel like the greatest. All the games I was watching, like it doesn't feel. It didn't feel like these last few weeks of college football, to be honest.
So Jelani, I'll bounce this off of you since you started the subject. I've been thinking about this all day. How much do you think that basically nobody that matters or affects the season plays in the preseason? These teams are so rusty week one. Like, how much do you think that affects the product of the first few weeks of the NFL?
I mean, it kind of go. I think it goes into it, like, because like I tweeted even yesterday, like my Falcons, we only like our offense played one full, like our starting offense played one drive all preseason, and I think it was a lot with the play calling, also a lot with the pass protection, but it showed outside of our two running backs, doing what they do. Sorry that you hate running backs, but if it wasn't for them and Jesse Bates, we probably would have lost that game yesterday. So. Definitely got to pay Bijan at some point. I feel like
everybody got to talk about their team. So let's let Jelani talk about his Falcons a little bit. We all got to talk about our teams.
But no, I looked at that and was like, yeah, I mean, the preseason. I tweeted the preseason matters, like, because I mean, defensively, like our starter defenses got a lot more snaps together than our offense did. And like I said, if it wasn't for Jesse Bates and the running backs, we would have easily lost that game probably. Outside of that,
the Steelers played their whole offense.
I was about to say the Steelers. Yep, I was just about to go to that.
Put up 7 points, so I think the preseason stuff is kind of.
I hate President. He has the
who's
same.
Prepared?
Yeah, exactly.
Who's prepared, because the Steelers played the whole preseason. The Giants didn't play any other guys preseason. It's just
exactly
who's more prepared, like, and also talent, like
and talent and coaching.
The 49ers are a really good team. I hate to say it, and the Cowboys are a really good team. I hate to say that, but they're just better than the two teams they played. And it didn't matter if the Giants played everyone preseason and everyone. It didn't matter. We were going to lose 40-0 regardless, because we just weren't prepared. So
Jelani, break down the Falcons' performance, since you're the only guy that hasn't got a chance to talk about his team yet.
Pretty much. Was set. So like I said, defensively, they looked a lot like they did in preseason. They bend but didn't break. Had big plays made by one of our bigger signings, obviously with Jesse Bates. Offensively,
I thought Bates was the difference.
Yes, 2 picks. I forgot how many tackles, like 7 or 8, something like that.
Yeah, I got to see him play a lot of Cincinnati just because of location, and I thought that was a great. He was one of my favorite players in that Cincinnati team, as far as like. Talent level. I thought that was a great signing. What do you think about Ritter? Real quick, what do you think about Ritter?
Same thing I kind of thought about going into the year. It was, like I said, it's kind of both sides. Like, pass protection sucked, but play calling also really sucked too. But for him too, I just think he just wasn't that. I mean, he didn't have much time, but he wasn't like as decisive. He took a lot more sacks. I think they only had 4, but he took certain sacks that I wish he wouldn't have taken. But it could have come from play calling, but also a little bit of nerves. Like, he looked like he looked nervous, like from when the first game he had. And last year. Like, obviously week 13, 14.
One last Falcons question: how popular will Shadur Sanders be when he plays for the Atlanta Falcons? Is it going to be the most popular player in the history of the Atlanta Falcons?
Most popular jersey that everybody in the stadium is going to have that. Easily. And I mean, I don't know. I'm not going to say that probably was one of the things I was going to say, but I'm not going to say we're out on Ritter. Like, I don't think Arthur Smith has that much confidence in him, to be honest. But I mean, if Shadur is there and we're a quarterback away, like, we go through the season and we're like, all right.
In all honesty, like, because I believe he's going to be up for grabs this year. Do you think the Falcons would take Justin Fields, or do you think it's time to move on from Justin Fields just as the NFL?
As the NFL, I don't think yet as the NFL, but I don't think we should go after him. I personally would stay. I feel like he would just melt into the Falcons, but I don't know if that's going to help. I would hope so. Maybe change the scenery. We always say that with certain guys, but then change the scenery and they do the same thing.
Yeah, he said, that's fair.
A la Geno Smith.
I never get to talk to Jelani. I apologize, but one of my favorite.
I appreciate
guys,
it, Joe.
I'm not passing up the opportunity.
Well, when you unretire, we can get you back on.
Anytime, man. You know that.
Yeah. He hasn't retired at this point. What are we talking about?
I only do 4 shows a week.
Oh, yeah, because he hasn't retired at this point. So I'm going to go and hit on my biggest loser. Jeff hinted towards it and then moved past it. Like, he hinted towards it and was like, I'm not going to take them. I'm going to move past. Bro, it's the Minnesota Vikings. Like, bro, they lost a close game. They were a team who benefited from winning close games last year. They won all their close games within 1 touchdown possessions. Now they lose. And I'm not going to beat my chest, but I said the Bucs are going to beat the Vikings. But I think it was more of the Bucs are going to be a little bit better than people thought. And for the simple fact, everybody, the Kens of the world that I heard said it, like, bro, the Vikings are not going to win all their close games that they won last year. Mm-hmm. And you see it starting in week 1. Like, you get lucky if you win a bunch of games within 1 possession, and then you go on to next year, you're like, not every luck doesn't always fall your way. And that's what it looked like with Minnesota, was luck didn't fall your way. Baker Mayfield looked good. He didn't look great. He didn't look elite. He didn't look like he should get some $40 million a year contract. But he looked good enough to lead a team with the Bucs who have good enough talent at the wide receiver position, got good enough talent on defense, that he can win some games, which is exactly who Baker Mayfield is. He's a guy with a good enough talent. He will win you some games, and he will be at the playoff conversation at the end of the year. Is he going to be a world beater and be a Super Bowl contender? No, never. You're never going to think you can win the Super Bowl. But with as bad as the NFC South has the possibility to be this year, with Baker Mayfield leading the helm of the team who's won the NFC South the past couple of years, this Bucs team looked like they could do it again. And so I would say the biggest loser is the Minnesota Vikings, especially for the simple fact Justin Jefferson looked like the best wide receiver in football for 1 half. 1 half. And then he turned around, and it wasn't his fault. But what I'm saying is then he turned around and 2 catches for 10 yards in the second half after literally looking like you're going to match Tyreek Hill catch for catch, yard for yard. Bro, I do have a problem with the simple fact I think the Vikings are the biggest loser.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Obviously, they were on my list. And that's the thing. That's the thing about Cousins, man. He gets tight in these games, and he dinks and dunks and tries to squeak out these victories. And it didn't work yesterday. And
stats lie quarterback. Ultimate stats lie quarterback.
And it looks like Jefferson feels that way. Like, Jefferson didn't play like a player yesterday that feels like his team's going to win a Super Bowl, as to where Tyreek Hill looked exactly like a player that feels like his team's going to win a Super Bowl.
Jefferson played like a guy who's trying to get his bag, and I think eventually he is going to get his bag. And what I hate to see could be the possibility of they could franchise tag him and possibly trade him, just for the simple fact he's going to ask for unrealistic numbers. And I don't say it's unrealistic for Justin Jefferson. It's just unrealistic for what we've seen from a wide receiver. But I do let's get on a positive note. Yes. And we're going to start with you, Jelani, the biggest winner from week 1 on Sunday.
Besides the obvious, we'll move past your Cowboys.
We talked about them enough. You got to trust.
Up.
I think
we're going to move on and say the Cowboys.
I'm tired of it. You know what? Enough is enough.
We can't name the Giants the biggest loser, but we can't name the Giants the biggest loser, but let's name the Cowboys the biggest winner. Go ahead. Go off, Jelani. Nope. Go off.
Nope.
Man. Winner-wise, team, I honestly, I want to say I touched on them, obviously, because Seattle. I think possibly the Rams, because, I mean, like we said, they did all that. We don't have – Cooper Kupp's not back yet. Obviously, that's another problem at the receiver spot that you'll have to deal with. I feel like they do have some kinks to work out with, probably like in the run game, obviously. But I think they're right back there. I think Sean McVay – obviously, I don't know if people give him enough credit, but I think Sean McVay is obviously one of the top coaches in this league. I think he's pretty good. And I think we're looking at the division now, we kind of could wipe Seattle away because I didn't have them high anyway. We're looking at them, and we're looking at, obviously, the 49ers, which, probably will win that division. But the NFC as a whole isn't great outside of, like we said, Cowboys, 49ers, and Eagles a little bit. I still kind of think the Eagles are going to have somewhat of a down year. But
yeah, I think
those are the top
earth.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm like, those are the top 3 teams. The Rams have a shot. like I said, I know they have that division to kind of worry about a little bit. Maybe Seattle gets it right, but they have a shot to squeak into the playoffs on those two or three wild card spots and then make some noise possibly. So I think, like I said, we kind of read them off because they're older in certain spots, but I think they were a big winner just for how well they performed against who people thought was probably the second best team in that division.
And a playoff team. Like Seahawks were a playoff team. And I think that's actually a really good choice. I text a buddy of mine that's a huge Rams fan, does some shows with, and I'm like, yeah, they ain't dead yet. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like they especially them rookies, when they play good, they put some energy into the building. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to go with my biggest winner before I let everybody else go, only because I put myself last with the biggest loser, and I don't want nobody to take it, and I don't think nobody will take.
Nobody's taking mine.
Nobody's going to take what I think is the biggest winner for the simple fact it might be a little wild, but I think it's the rookie quarterbacks drafted in the first round. I think the biggest winner is the fact CJ Stroud looked solid. Anthony Richardson looked damn good. And Bryce Young Young, outside of his interception, he still looked pretty good. And you're talking about a guy who walked in not knowing who his weapons were going to be in that game. He didn't know whether Adam Thielen, when he woke up Sunday, he didn't know whether Adam Thielen was going to play or not. He thought his best receiver was going to be Terrace Marshall Jr. That's who he thought his best receiver was about to be. DJ Chark didn't play. I think CJ Stroud, when you talk about like how he looked against the Ravens, they lost, but the beginning of the game was like, oh, this is a rookie quarterback. And then by the end of the game, you're like, he finally settled in and started playing good. So I think the three guys drafted in the first round, I feel like they actually had a good Sunday.
I thought Richardson
definitely had the best.
Yeah, we talk about like I think the Colts and I hope he's not actually injured. I really, 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 really hope. And it sounds like it's going to be okay. I thought he had a great day because everybody was ready to pounce on him, and he went toe to toe with the Jaguar. But he did all the stuff that like potentially he could do, and he did it.
If we rank the quarterbacks, the rookie quarterbacks, on how they looked on their debut, I would say AR-15 is 1.
Sure.
I would say CJ Stroud is 2. I would say Bryce Young is 3, but I walked away fairly impressed with all three of them as far as like, you're a rookie. This is your first start, and all y'all look like at the end of the day, no matter how you want to kill, they all look like confident.
You look better than that dude in Pittsburgh.
Yes,
you look like confident. Dude, just wearing two gloves and
quarterbacks.
I live 2 hours from Pittsburgh, y'all. You didn't need 2 gloves to do anything yesterday. That's all I'm going to say. No, like nothing.
So, Chris, I want to move to you. Biggest winner.
The Cleveland Browns defense.
Biggest winner, and why is it the Dallas Cowboys? Oh, my bad.
God, get over it. It's just one game, man.
So is it the Cleveland Browns defense because Myles Garrett hit the 3 crossovers between the legs and got a sack? Like, is that
that's impressive? That's impressive. Wow. He got hops. Team USA could probably use him too. The defense, they dominated the Bengals. I mean, Joe Burrow just got the bag. He's the highest paid quarterback in the world.
Highest paid player ever.
And he threw for what, 80, 75 yards?
Like 81, I think. I think it was like 81.
That's without the offense looking all that. They looked all right. They look better than last year, but still like a lot of ups and downs with that offense, especially the passing game. Deshaun Watson still figuring things out.
I think if Watson can play like that, this team is good.
I think this team is a Super Bowl contender if Watson returns the MVP form.
Oh yeah, but even an average Watson, they're good.
I don't know, but the thing is I don't know if that Deshaun Watson is ever going to come back. So, but he might not need to because the defense is legit. It's on par with the 49ers and the Cowboys, and they have a elite run game. So those, as long as he plays mistake-free football, the Browns could be really dangerous. But their defense was absolutely dominant. Like, they made an offense who we feel like is very potent look absolutely like the only worst offense was the Giants. Like, there was no other offense that looked worse than the Giants, and they have a bunch of a lot more weapons than us. So, but like, it was an impressive outing for Browns. So the defense to me is the biggest winner.
The craziest thing is, real quickly, I just want everybody to know that watched that game. It did not rain in Ohio yesterday.
Yeah.
Like, I cannot explain to you how weird it was to watch that game. Like, it was 80 degrees and beautiful here. If it's the only place in Ohio it was raining, it was on Cleveland Stadium. It's one of the most unexplainable things in my entire life. And I think they might just turn the sprinkler system on. Like, I can't explain how nice it was here. And we're watching the game, and I'm like, it's like,
Is
what?
this
Looking misty as hell, yeah.
Dude, it was so weird, man. But yeah, that was a great game by Cleveland.
So, Ken, who is your biggest winner?
I'm a betting show, so I guess I'll give you some betting winners. People who didn't bet the Chicago Bears to win the NFC North, plus 400. You guys win the day because you didn't just burn money. And the people who bet the Arizona Cardinals to be the worst team in the NFL at plus 230, those people are winners because that was completely on the table for them to win that game yesterday. You had 6 sacks.
No chance, was there?
You had 6 sacks. You won the turnover battle, and you still lost that football game because Josh Dobbs threw for 132 passing yards. So if you pick the Cardinals,
the tank is in effect.
Good for you,
Ken.
seriously. Like
the Chicago Bears might put 9 players on the field next week just to be sure that they don't win a game this season to try and get Caleb Williams.
Like, seriously, I don't know. I think that those two are winners. So good on you if you didn't bet the Bears, and good on you if you bet the Cardinals. Awful.
All right. So clearly, Ken is on the betting side. Jeff, before we hit our biggest overreaction to close out the show, who is your biggest winner?
Just my biggest winner overall were the teams that in the offseason, got rid of like excess luggage and threw it overboard so the boat could go a little faster. Like teams like Dallas getting rid of Zeke and just being done with that. Teams like the Green Bay Packers finally being done with the Aaron Rodgers thing. Team like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, like as great as Tom Brady was, like to move on from it, not have to deal with it. All of these teams came out and played more open, more fresh, faster, came away with victories. Like teams that moved on from these storylines that were bugging them, and went to the next chapter, really played good yesterday. New Orleans Saints, they're done with the Winston thing. They got a quarterback. Like, let's move on to the next chapter. They all played fresh and free and had really good games. Are they going to have great seasons? I don't know, but like, sometimes those things weigh you down. So shout out to them for like moving on with life and starting the next chapter. It worked out for all of them. I think the Packers, that was the most fun they had playing football in 5 years yesterday. Now, by the time the end of the season, are they going to feel that way? No, but yesterday, like they felt like, oh my gosh, this is our team now. Let's move on with life.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. So now we're going to go to close out the show. Everybody's biggest overreaction from week 1 of the NFL season. Chris, I'm going to start with you. What is your biggest overreaction to close out the show on your takes on ORM week 1 at Off the Ball Network?
Cowboys still suck.
Okay, well then.
that was a pretty big one.
Yeah. Oh, like, is that your overreaction? Is that where we're going? Whoa.
The Cowboys are still not going to win the division.
You're going to owe me $100. I'm not even worried. Moving on. Giovanni, what is your biggest overreaction to week 1?
I guess it could be a lot of overreaction. I don't even know if this is an overreaction, but I think now that the dust has settled a little bit with week 1, and then, like I said, going back to my college football thing, I think there's a lot more teams that will be in on quarterbacks that we initially thought coming into the season NFL-wise. And I say that because I think there's a lot of college football quarterbacks that are performing at a high level this year as well. So I think there's a lot of teams, aka my team, possibly maybe looking for a new quarterback, maybe draft, maybe somewhere around the league. And there's going to be obviously a few other ones. Obviously, people are taking for Caleb, taking for Drake May. So I think there's a lot of teams that aren't as set in stone with what they thought that they had at the quarterback position. Pittsburgh, us, obviously the Commanders. We can probably name a few. We don't know how Baker's gonna play out, and even Kyle Trask for the Bucs. So I think there's a lot more teams that will be looking for a quarterback after this year than we initially thought coming into the year.
I agree on that. There's
Ken,
a lot of teams.
what is your biggest overreaction from week 1 to close out the show?
The LA Rams are going to make the playoffs because they've got the second best QB in the NFC.
Ooh.
And
Who's the best QB in the NFC?
Jalen Hurts.
Okay.
Jalen Hurts is the best QB in the NFC. But
Okay.
Stafford's ahead of Dak. He's
great
ahead of
call.
Goff. He's ahead of Cousins. He's
Drunk.
the only quarterback in that conference that has a Super Bowl ring. He just played with a bunch of towel boys and whoops Seattle. And if this rookie's something and you get Cooper Kupp back by week 5, week 6, we could have a pretty dynamic offense there.
Mm-hmm.
I just really think that we're looking at the NFC as wide open. We're talking about Seattle not being very good. New Orleans won, but they didn't look great. Atlanta won, but they didn't look fantastic. Like, we're talking about a lot of teams that won some ugly games yesterday, and the Rams were dominant. Like, that was on the road winning 30-13, putting away a team that's supposed to finish ahead of you in spectacular fashion. Aaron Donald's back. He's playing great. I just think that they're a 6 or 7 seed in the NFC with how it's playing. In the AFC, they're probably the 12 seed, but hey, they get to benefit for being in the NFC this year.
Yeah.
And I think that when you have Stafford, like, I'll put Stafford against any QB not named Jalen Hurts because of his year that he had last year. But I just think QB play, we talk about all these guys getting all this money, and it's the most important position in football. And they've got a top 2 or 3 one in the conference. For me, 2. For some, it may be 3. But I think that that's the team to watch out for as every single week.
He might be 1.
He could be 1. Like, I'm only giving Hurts credit because he almost won MVP last year.
He didn't play great. Hurts did not play great.
I was saying,
He didn't play great week 1, but I'm going off of just last season. He was phenomenal.
He was elite last year.
Oh, Jeff. Biggest overreaction going into week 2.
Kansas City Chiefs are not going to make the playoffs. That's one of the worst offenses lineups I've seen. That division's not great. It just feels like one of these.
Did you not see the Giants play?
They're not in the NFC, dog. I'm just saying, like, I don't know how they fight through each week and keep Patrick Mahomes alive. I just feel like it's going to be one of those seasons to where, like, an ankle injury is going to slow it down. They're going to lose some terrible games. I think it's just a season off for the Kansas City Chiefs.
You're going to make me kill myself. Just doubt Patrick Mahomes.
No, I don't doubt Patrick.
It is overreaction, man.
Speaking of overreactions,
Jeff is going to make me kill myself by doubting Patrick Mahomes. Would probably be my biggest overreaction. No, I'm going to say my biggest overreaction from week 1, and because it's overreaction, we get to have fun. The Dolphins are Super Bowl contenders and could win the AFC.
I was gonna, because I was joking with my Cowboy stuff. That was exactly what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
That's my overreaction too. The Dolphins are going to Super Bowl.
Yeah. Now I'm not gonna see. Here's where I'm not gonna stamp on who I got going to the Super Bowl and say the Dolphins. But if you told me at the end of the year, based on what I've seen, I just watched a top 5 to 7 quarterback, and I watched the best receiver in football play football yesterday, and you told me that's the team that ends up in the Super Bowl, I wouldn't say you're crazy. Like, I think the Dolphins are – I thought the Dolphins-Chargers game was a matchup of playoff contenders.
Give me that again. I'll take that again. I'll watch that again. That was fun.
I thought that was a matchup of playoff contenders, and I walked away and feel like the Dolphins were Super Bowl contenders.
Aaron Rodgers is hurt.
Oh, well, I'm not even watching the game, but I really feel like – I feel like the Dolphins.
Biggest overreaction: the Jets are missing the playoffs.
Well, that
I already had them missing the playoffs. Hey, I've done like 3 shows.
Robert Saleh, and he looked like he depressed. Like, oh,
I've done like 3 shows. I've done like 3 shows on the AFC East. I said each and every one of them that the Jets were winning 9 games.
Well, I know Aaron Rodgers is hurt because my phone is currently blowing up about how hurt Aaron Rodgers is. So I watched it. I don't know.
My fantasy team too.
Like, Jesus Christ.
For real.
Oh, shit. Well, it's time to watch some NFL football on the Monday night. So I appreciate everybody for tuning in.
I appreciate everybody for being here.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
appreciate everybody for tuning in. We appreciate everybody for listening.
Let's keep this up. ORM
And I appreciate
life.
Jeff. I appreciate Jeff for jumping on ORM. I appreciate Ken for gracing us with his
This
presence.
is a GOAT lineup here.
Hey, this is essentially like a day one lineup.
I'm so
Outside of Ken,
happy for how much Jelani's grown as a contributor, because I remember like the days like him. Remember, he's always fighting with his phone. Like day one, he was
would be in and out.
Jeff, Jeff was pissed off, like low key, like
no, because
damn
he was,
internet.
and he had to use, like no, he was just
I
like
had a corner apartment.
But look at him now. Look at him now. Dude don't even have. I got a mic in front of me. Jelani's like, nah, this is just the voice of God. Take it.
Jelani's got to lead the Knicks for the playoffs next year.
I can't wait to see Thad again. I miss you guys.
But yeah, well, we appreciate everybody for tuning in. We appreciate everybody for listening. We will catch y'all next Monday on another Overreaction Monday, week 2, coming from Off the Ball Network.